Guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. And today's talk is all about our bread and butter finances, financial independence, financial freedom. And we've got Connor Tyson on the show, and he's a personal financial coach. And I love his approach, helping physicians and high income earners stop the tug of war with their personal finances. They've got great training, great skills, lack the expertise with money. And so he's here to help them with that. So, Connor, welcome.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I love to be on here today, be
Yeah.
providing some value added to the listeners.
We were talking backstage, and what's interesting is why do high income earners struggle with money? They make a lot of money, but they can't seem to keep it. How do they win with money?
Yeah, so it's funny. It's not just doctors, right? They don't teach this stuff in schools, and people are trying to build a car driving down the highway, right? And you come out of school and you get, your job and you have a lot of money coming in, but it's like no one has taught you exactly the steps or the processes to actually get that under control and get some clarity as to what you need to do next. And life happens to us pretty quickly, right? Like, so I came out of college, I got my first place, and then I had my first car, and then it was like married, engaged, two kids, boom, mortgage, what's going right? And I look up and I was like, wow, okay, I'm 35, right? So life happens to us fast, and if we don't have the precursors to it, it can become overwhelming pretty quickly.
And it's like I said, yeah, you're like, yeah, it's like and you top onto that like taxes and inflation, and then you're just kind of what so one thing is so you have this clarity, control, confidence. What are the key steps someone should take to gain clarity, control, and confidence over their finances?
So I used to be a financial advisor for 22 years, and I still have my licenses. So the funny thing is that most people tell you what to do. This is what you need to do. And the precursor to that I found is the number one indicator of success is having clarity as to your why. Why is it important to you? What is it preventing you from doing? What is it preventing you from feeling? How long have you felt like this? What would it feel like to actually have this area of your life that affects so many other areas of your life under control and have a process that is easy, manageable, and implementable, right? And getting clarity on that why is a huge indicator of success long term. It's kind of like, as a doctor, going to the gym and taking care of your fitness. Everybody has New Year's resolutions, like this is the year, and the people that stick with it right around now, they're still in the gym in April, and they haven't given up, is they started that journey with a clear why, a reason why. It was maybe I want to have more energy for my kids, or the doctor told me if I don't get this area under control, I'm going to live less than the years I want to, right? And it gets to the depth of the principles and values of why they want to start this journey in the first place.
And it's like money is a tool and it's a resource and it helps you do a lot of things. And I was just talking with another guest, kind of our society, American culture is socially conditioned to think of money as status, and so we hoard and accumulate things, but it can do a lot of good things as well. So talk about this. It's not the what, but why and how. But then you also talking about is, a lot of people are in bad situation. So what's the number one thing people can do to improve their situation?
Why they want to start their journey, they're motivated. The mindset and the behaviors that have gotten them into the weeds. It's really getting a process of telling your money where to go. We've all heard this before, but it seems as if it's overwhelming to a lot of people. Like when I used to do financial planning, the whole thing was driven off of your cash flow. And they were just giving me round numbers. Like, yeah, just put me down for, I don't know, $30,000 a month or $20,000 a month. Well, this whole thing is predicated on knowing where your money's going and why it's there. Wealthy people that have control of this area know what their money's doing, why it's doing what it's doing, and where it is, right? A dollar a purpose of what's the next thing it should be doing, what you tell it to do. And if you don't tell it what to do, it'll tell you what it did.
Yeah.
So I think having a money plan, I hate the word budget, a cash flow plan of here's my income, here are my expenses, starting with the needs and then the wants, and getting that a clear picture of where you stand is the launching pad to the next step.
Quote by David Rockefeller, and he's like, he said he like he accounted for every single penny, and at first I thought that was like really petty, but then it's actually really important because you want to see where everything is going, and I think it was Warren Buffett where he says he knows where every dollar is spent and how it's what it's producing. It's and because if you
I had a client this morning where they have a savings account, an emergency fund. I say, great, what is it for? And it's, oh, well, the rainy day. Well, how about we actually gave that money a purpose and we knew exactly what that emergency fund is for? And then the savings accounts, let's give that a purpose of exactly have a separate ledger of, okay, this is for the family vacation. This is for the business expansion. This is for, and you know exactly where you stand in relationship to your goals at any given one moment. It
yeah,
makes you more proactive versus reactive. It's
yeah.
a mindset.
Talk about this and a lot of because I've talked to a lot of wealthy individuals and people, and they say that for example, there's this concept of paying yourself first, and talk about this idea of just paying yourself first, cutting off like 10-20%, even more, putting that into a saving investment bucket and just put it on automatic. Talk about.
Yeah. So paying yourself first is this. Your biggest wealth building tool is your income. And if the majority of your income is going out to outside payments, i.e., American Depressed, Discover You're Broke, the two car payments, the student loan, the this, that, the other thing, it's going to make it virtually impossible or very, very difficult to overcome that hurdle. So someone told me a long time ago, there's no such thing as debtor's prison, right? Okay. And pay yourself first. Make yourself the priority in that it's kind of with, I don't know if it's Pareto's rule or whatever it is. You have a bucket of money and you can pay yourself first and then spend the money, or which 90% of Americans do, is spend the money and then try to save what's left over. It's the same buckets of money, but one prioritizes you and your goals first, and then somehow life works around that and you make do with what you have versus the other way around, which is spend the money and see if I have anything left over to save. Some months I have it, some months I don't have it. The months
Yeah.
I don't have it, it puts me behind, closer to that, which is most important to me, my goals and dreams and my values and principles.
Yeah, and I love that. The other thing that a lot of high income earners, not just doctors, but they get themselves into these because I was talking to a doctor and he was like, yeah, he invests in mutual funds, and I'm like, mutual funds are dinosaurs. I haven't touched mutual funds in over 25 years. But how does the financial industry contribute to common financial struggles, and what are you doing differently with Progress Solutions to address this?
The financial industry is not going to do anything to really help people in this area because they want them to be dependent upon them for the answers to sell them stuff. Quote unquote was a real tool in that it would steer the conversation to an investment or an insurance product sooner or later, right? Mutual funds, right? There's ETFs, exchange traded funds, index, it's low cost options. But the real problem is that they don't speak to what really matters when investing. It's not the upside, it's more the downside, the risk, right? The number one rule, Warren Buffett, you mentioned before, is do not lose large sums of money.
Yeah.
Why is that? There's a whole topic to this, but it's basically geometric return, right? It goes up 50% and then down 50%. Where am I? You're
Uh-huh.
not at break even. You're nowhere close to it. You start with 100,000, it goes up to 150,000. You lose 50% of that. That's 75 grand.
Uh-huh.
So it's do not lose large sums of money. The risk, manage the risk. I've had clients where the market's gone up 18, they've gone up 12. Okay, not that upset, but okay. The market's gone down 18 and they've gone down 26. They're upset.
Uh-huh.
They
Uh-huh.
understand that concept where that's really the industry itself does not position itself with engaging the people with the tools and resources they need to get where they need to go. They're constantly peddling ideas, selling the sizzle of what they want to hear,
Uh-huh.
and they sell something that does that solution. Let's quote unquote call it that, right? Where they have these annuities now with income protection and blah, blah. You're paying for all this stuff. You can actually, real money managers sell. It's so funny. You've heard advisors say, oh, buy and hold. Well, why, if the market's going down, why would I participate in that? Right?
Yeah.
It's like going up a mountain and then I'm 80% to the top, and then it's like up, the bell goes off, and now you got to go all the way back down to like almost the starting point. Why would I do that? Why wouldn't I just sell, right? When I'm going to go back in. Well, what happens if you only catch 80% of the upside? I'm still fine with that, right? You don't have to participate in the downside. The preservation of wealth. It's about preservation of wealth. It's not, that's one of the big misnomers of the financial industry. And they don't want you to know this because
Yeah.
they make money off of it. They make
Yeah.
money off your ignorance. And I was fortunate enough to have a degree in finance. In my sophomore year of college, I saw this and my jaw hit the floor. The professor told me that, and I was like, wow, that's exactly what it's about.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like products and services and, the fees, all of that. Which is like, why, if you get financially educated, you can learn to use these products, but you don't have to like be dependent on them and kind of go in blind and not know what you're doing. So I love this idea, discuss a transformational moment or story from one of your clients that highlights the impact of your financial coaching and helping clients.
Yeah, so I came across a client who's making pretty good money. Actually, the name of my business came out of this. So it's Progress Solutions. And revenue is $350,000 a year. And he said, listen, psst, I'm not making any progress. He was basically living paycheck to paycheck or pay period to pay period. And his business became a cash eating monster.
Uh-huh.
And that's where the concept of, I introduced profit first, clarity of where his money is going, cutting the expenses, looking at what really mattered. And within 6 months, it was like his first string of 2 quarters where his business started actually growing and making money. And then from there, we slowly increased the profit size 1% a quarter. 1%, it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you add up the numbers, it's huge. And now he's going on family vacations, he's working less, he's less stressed. It was a beautiful transformation because the things that he was doing is I'm missing my kids' football games. It
Mm,
was the feelings behind it. It wasn't the numbers. It was was it preventing him from doing? What is it preventing him from feeling? And I was able to actually get clarity as to what really mattered to him. And it was his family. He
mm,
wanted to spend more time with his kids in sports and nurturing them. And he was constantly working. And he felt almost like a fraud inside. And getting a process around this helped him align his principles and values, what mattered to him, and have his money do exactly what he wanted. And he was able to live out the life and provide for his family the way he wanted to.
yeah.
Where to this day he's doing phenomenal.
Yeah.
It wasn't overwhelming for him. It took a little bit of time,
Uh-huh.
the habits, the perspectives that he believed, which you hear all the time. And for the listeners out there, you hear it all the time. Those things that you believe are true, which really aren't, right? They act on them in a way, and they don't really test the validity of these things until it's too late. So that was a big transformation. He's been with me for 3 years, and yeah, he's doing it. He's actually on vacation right now.
Yeah, that's the power of when you get good, sound advice and and where you understand how money works, how to make it, grow it, save it, protect it, invest it. A lot of doctors, again, I'm alluding to doctors because I'm from that field, but they suffer in debt. They've got student loans, 500K, they got
Yep.
$1 million house, that's the mortgage, they got car and all this stuff. So share effective strategies for debt elimination and how they differ from common financial advice.
They have the biggest earning potential, and they have the biggest, I call it shovel, right? But you also have the biggest shovel,
Yeah.
right? Where you can get out of that debt if you focus that energy very quickly. I've helped orthodontic dentists also coming out of school,
Yeah.
where within 2.5 years, they're debt free.
Mm,
Now, what enabled them to do that is the clarity as what it's going to take to do that. Are they willing to make the sacrifice short term for a long term solution? And the motivation for that doctor was basically the long-term solution of the feeling. It wasn't the prestige that he was after. He wasn't, it was more of the feeling of not being controlled and
Yeah.
the anxiety and the feeling of, okay, I don't see how I'm going to get from here to point A to point B. And it was the fear of the unknown of how to do it. And once I showed him how to do it, and then I didn't tell him what to do. He told me exactly what he was going to do. And
Yeah.
that was the motivation from within once he had some clarity as to what he was willing to do to get where he wanted to go. And he did everything from sell dining room furniture to cancel the golf subscription at the country club. He was willing to do these things to get in a position within 2 years. And
Uh,
now he's well on his way. And now he can do those things. He slowly integrated the golf membership back into his life. He's
yeah.
slowly doing he took his first family vacation debt free. He didn't have to take the family vacation home with him, right? So those things matter. I don't tell people what to do. I don't sell any financial planning products. I help them get clarity and the motivation of what they need to do, and then give them the tools and resources to do it themselves. They're
Yeah.
very intelligent people, and it's really connecting that emotional side
Uh,
to the method of how they do it, doing it, which is another misnomer from the perspective of the financial industry. There's
yeah.
hundreds of ways of doing the same thing. It's just what works for you, right? I'm not going to show you apps. If you're a spreadsheet person, great, let's do spreadsheets. If not, you're pen and paper old school, let's do it that way. The principles are the same. Connection of the motivation and the clarity. That's the number one indicator of success because most people have the same issues. It's always the same issues. It has nothing, it very rarely has to do with the money. There's a book out there called It's Not About the Money. It's a good book. I have to get you the author, but it's not. It's people perspective, right? Lack thereof. And yeah.
Yeah, I love that you get so many pearls, and I love this idea how you can focus your financial resources to focus on this area of debt. And I know, for example, a lot of physicians, they come out of fellowship, they get their first attending, and they basically live like a resident for that first 3 years, and they basically chop down that debt, get out of that debt, and then they're ahead versus the one that just came out and just splurges on all these things, and they kind of just splurge, spray all their.
Yes, I mean, I was thinking about that today, where the unique thing that doctors do have is that they deny themselves a lot of things while going through residency and studying, and they daydream about this stuff. Like one day I'll be able to do this, right? And when they actually get the ability, the top gets blown off and they start doing it. Fortitude and patience to, like you said, live like a resident just for like a year or two, clean up the mess, and then launch yourself into a stratosphere that you would find unbelievable. But
Yeah,
very few people do it
yeah,
because they haven't gotten the clarity as to why, what's in it for them to do it, and what happens if they don't do it. And that's it's not just the money thing. It's also the emotions while they're studying. They see all their friends doing all these great things, and they have to do the long hours. They have to give themselves these experiences. And once they get in a position to be able to do that with some freedom, autonomy,
yeah,
they do it. They
yeah.
fall into that trap, and it only takes a short period of time, as you've witnessed,
Right.
right? You actually become a full-fledged doctor with a practice now, and then it's like those 2 years are crammed with those daydreams that you've had since you were in school. That's my specialty, to kind of undo that stuff for people because it's important. It's
Yeah.
really important. They shouldn't have to deny themselves. It's
You
just a
also
fact.
mentioned something really interesting was this idea, you talked about, they gave this example where the emotion where for one of your clients, it was this emotion of this fear and anxiety. It wasn't about this status and showing, like, kind of keep up with the Jones. So kind of to top it off, you talk about this number one indicator of success with money. I'm just curious for my own, what is that?
So we kind of spoke about it before. It's actually keeping that why in front of them.
Hmm.
If there's any resistance as to what they're doing, let's say 3 months into this process, I bring up that why. And is this still true for you? And sometimes they need to be reminded of that. So you've heard, or I've heard studies where, writing down a goal, you're one times likely to achieve it. If you have that goal posted somewhere where you see it daily, like a mirror, a
Mhm.
bathroom mirror, you're 6 times more likely to achieve that. If you tell somebody else that goal and share it and see it every day, you're 10 times more likely. So it's the
Yeah.
accountability and follow through, which is a big indicator also to help you get where you want to go and achieve those things you need to achieve.
Yeah. I love that. How can people get in contact with you and help them get the transformation that they need help?
So my website is Progress. I want to make some progress, which is financial coaching. Progressfc.com. You'll get a good idea of what I do, how I work, and everybody gets a complimentary 45-minute consultation. It's called a Win with Money session, where we just have a conversation about your situation, break it down, and really, I don't push ropes. Person, they're ready for some change and they're willing to do what it takes, and which is not that much. It really isn't. It seems like it's an overwhelming thing, but it's not. It's just daily habits and simple implementable things they can do for
Yeah.
themselves. And that I offer that to all the listeners out there. The person driving the car, listening to it on their iPad, whatever it is. I share the same mission as you in that helping these people get the financial independence and peace of mind they deserve. They work really hard
Yeah.
and they should have something to show for it.
Yeah, I love that it's habits because I know a lot of smart doctors and they're poor. And I know a lot of, mediocre doctors, they got the education, they understand money and they're very wealthy. So let's thank Connor for coming on, give his socials a like and follow and reach out to him, check out his services. And with that, thanks so much for coming on.